Welcome to another CPG webcast, a service of CPGmatters and the Shopper Technology Institute. I'm your host, John Karolefski. Thank you for joining us. Today we're talking about consumer data. In fact, everybody is talking about big data nowadays. Well, big data may be flowing into your analytics team at a record rate, but is its value flowing back toward customers in a meaningful way? Joining me to answer that question and more is Jeff Berry, Senior Director of Research and Development at LoyaltyOne. Jeff, more consumers are saying they aren't getting fair value in return for sharing their information with businesses. Why is that?
Thanks, John. In the 2013 LoyaltyOne customer sentiment study, we found that 9 out of 10 consumers, in fact, were actually saying that they felt they weren't getting the value that they felt they deserved in relation to providing personal data to businesses. In general, we're finding that's because their expectations seem to be rising. Consumers today better understand the value their data has, and in exchange, they have some things that they're expecting businesses to deliver. Firstly, they're expecting contextual relevance. So really, this understanding that the businesses understand what consumers' state of mind is and the kinds of things that they're thinking about in relation to their purchase cycle. So there's this real focus in on making sure that relevance is about the context in which the consumer is shopping. Second, we seem to see some real increases in the desire for personalized offers. Consumers really have this expectation that businesses understand the things that they need and the things that they've been buying in the past, and there's this real focus on creating customized, personalized offers to make sure that ultimately they get to the third piece, which is that brands are trying to engage them in a way that's meaningful and engage them in a way that ultimately drives to consumer loyalty on a long-term basis.
Okay, so consumers want relevance, personalized offers, and engagement. And some brands aren't providing those things?
Yeah, in general, we believe that the retail industry is really starting to master consumer data collection. So data collection centered in and around transactional type of data, disparate data sources, things like social media, data that is outside of the walls of the regular sort of transaction stream, so other data sources of that nature. And then the third is really around what I would call emotive data that is about consumer motivations and attitudes towards brands. So we're finding that companies are really starting to master that collection of that and have really recently just started to move towards marketing on the basis of that data and insight and offer optimization. So really finding a way to actually create this kind of personalization. I don't think it's ultimately news to say that brands that don't offer that kind of relevance, personalization, and engagement are obviously not optimizing what value they could be driving out of the data they collect. But as this becomes really more table stakes for brands, they need to think about how they're catching up. Competitive environment today is one in which consumers are looking at everything from companies like Amazon to international companies that they haven't previously shopped for. And so when each individual retailer is thinking about their competitive set, the experience is really being created by all of the interactions that companies have with customers. And so as companies move forward and continue to forge ahead in their mastery of data and offer optimization, they really need to think about maximizing data value for both their businesses and their objectives, as well as what consumers want, ultimately this view around creating a customer-centric type of organization.
Okay, well, that kind of forward thinking is really interesting, Jeff. Please tell us more.
Yeah, what we see is brands that are really winning at driving customer value are successfully operationalizing their customer data. They're trying to create a more fulsome experience across the organization, not strictly within the domain of marketing, which I think is where traditionally brands have tried to focus their data energy, is about how they optimize their marketing investment, where we're really seeing this move to a more wholesome experience, whether it's what's happening in store, what's happening online, what's happening within the marketing domain, a complete end-to-end experience solution for customers. As an example, we're seeing companies like Netflix that are really trying to drive value out of things like the backlist of their catalog. Largely, inexpensive. They've already made the investments. They certainly aren't paying the royalties that they would be paying on newer shows and newer offerings. But they're really leveraging the understanding that data is driving around what customers might be finding interesting to optimize the use of their back catalog, to create the sort of offers that customers are likely to take advantage of around shows that they might decide to watch.
Okay. Well, for the sake of argument, Jeff, say that a company's analytics get good enough that they can routinely produce relevant, targeted offers. Is there a next step?
Absolutely. At LoyaltyOne, we in particular focus on using customer data to try and inform a broader range of business decisions. So again, back to the idea that it's business decisions that are more wholesome in nature around the customer experience, not strictly marketing. We see the best companies actually shifting their attention from historical descriptive type statistics that describe what happened in the past towards fully operational predictive analytics that drive both marketing and operations, ultimately to try to accelerate customer behavior change. So if the goal of marketing is to create customer engagement, finding ways to actually motivate consumers to take different actions is really where data is helping companies actually get smarter about what they're doing. So as another example, Amazon is exploring potential solutions by creating an anticipatory shipping system. So with their massive store of data and what they understand about customers and their purchase histories and the purchasing patterns, Amazon is actually trying to predict possible future purchases and begin the transfer and shipping process before the transactions actually even happened.
Wow, predict my purchase. Isn't that kind of creepy?
Some may argue that. To me, and where we focus is really that the creepiness element of the process really comes down to how companies execute on their use of that data. It's really about executional excellence and how you actually make sure that you're creating value for the customer in the understanding of what's meaningful and motivational to them. So when a customer suspects that changes in the experience that you're creating are being made more for the business benefit than their own benefit, it's more likely that they'll see those enhancements as being uncomfortable. It starts to feel like you know too much about them and you're anticipating things that may not actually be within the realm of what's meaningful to them. When a customer perceives that their experience has been improved by sharing data and that they're the primary beneficiary of those enhancements, they seem to start to see those as real welcome additions to the overall experience. So instead of asking the question, is this creepy or have we gone too far in terms of creepiness, I'd really encourage retailers to actually shift that question into one that's more around, is this customer-centric? Are the decisions that we're making in the best interest of the customers and focused on what we understand about them? So what makes Amazon's ideas really relevant for customers is that they could potentially reduce shipping time and allow for greater product discovery through offering them products that they might not otherwise have thought about, but that make sense in relation to what they understand other customers to have purchased. So whereas receiving an advertisement, targeted advertisement in return for one's data doesn't really ultimately feel like a fair value exchange for consumers, tangible benefits like getting free shipping or a promotional gift or a product that has no charge associated with it could actually provide much greater benefit and have the consumer feel like the value of their data is being recognized and acknowledged.
Okay, fair enough. Of course, target marketing isn't new because companies have been doing it for decades, but the level of personalization that's possible with today's technology is new, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, personalization really won't merely be part of a traditional push marketing effort. It really is becoming part of a larger cycle where customers' buying patterns are being predicted, decisions are being supported through curated information and ultimately curated experience for the customer where personal goals for a business are really aided through data-driven experience and data-driven design. The key will be to successfully execute an experience that is seen as mainly benefiting the customer rather than strictly the business, and operationalizing this approach so that it can be delivered consistently. I think essentially the winning formula is really about engaging the customer based on their experiences with the brand, consistently hitting a relevance-based high level of personalization will ultimately help companies establish a relationship with that customer that competitors will ultimately struggle to match. When you truly understand what your customer wants, you have a way to engage them and create more points of experience and engagement along that consumer's continuum, life cycle continuum, to really create ultimate long-term customer loyalty.
Okay, so in summary, if I understand you correctly, as more companies adopt these strategies, consumers will expect a personalized brand experience in exchange for their data, right?
That's absolutely right, John. Yeah, companies that use today's powerful and accessible analytics to deliver on that expectation will definitely grow in 2014 and beyond. Ultimately, that's the power of big data, especially and in particular when it flows both ways, when you're using data to create an engaging dialogue with your customers, not strictly pushing them marketing offers and collateral.
Thanks, Jeff. If you'd like to obtain an official transcript of this webcast, click on the link on the homepage of CPGmatters.com or shoppertech.org. Meanwhile, for more information about LoyaltyOne, be sure to visit them on the web at www.loyalty.com or on Twitter at LoyaltyOneCO. Until the next time, this is John Karolefski for the CPG Webcast.